All right, let's send it live. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Effin' Growth. Today, we're talking about something that we come back to every once in a while. It seems like every few weeks, every 6 weeks or so, we come back to the topic about how to generate more revenue, how to generate more consistency, how to kind of work to build that brand inside of Webflow. And so today, we're going to dive deep into all of that, what it means to build consistency, the things you can do in your workflow to kind of help kind of level out the sales, the ebb and flow. And so we'll talk all about that. So anyway, before we get too far into this thing, let's effing grow. Okay, what's going on, Joe?
Hey, how's it going? I'm
It
happy
is.
to be back in our normal stream of community submitted topics.
Yeah.
I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, we took kind of a hiatus there with Clone Comp, and then we had some big product releases, which we'll still talk a little bit about
Mhm.
the product releases today, because that's how we'll start the show, is with a little bit of updates about the Chrome extension. But yeah, we've had like a real busy schedule with releases, and we just saw we crossed like 2,000 installs on the Chrome extension. What was it? I posted the other day, the cookie consent is getting like 3 million pings
Yeah.
per month. Just crazy activity. Client first, the clonables, the projects, like it's buzzing. We're gonna do a live build this Thursday, so like yeah, just kind of a lot going on. But it is good to get back to these audience suggested topics.
Definitely. And today we are talking about how to build consistent income. We'll be talking a lot about the sales process, making sure that in this very inconsistent industry, you can have some consistency with the way that you take on clients and earn money. So this will be a really good topic for a lot of people.
Yep, nice. Okay, so before we get into our disclaimer, Joe, do you want to jump into a screen share here and let's give people a quick rundown of what's available in the extension? I know we had some we kind of changed things up. I know people were expecting a couple things to unlock that didn't, but we took a couple of the other features to a little more like, refinement. And so I don't know, talk a little bit about that trade-off, maybe open up the screen and let's get into, like what's going on.
Sure. So we're finding that this extension build process is really, really flexible for us in a sense that we need to focus on what we need to focus on. And we decided that we wanted to spend a little bit extra time building out merge classes. We were also going to release Unbind CMS today. We decided not to do that, keep testing it, because we spent so much time on merge classes. So we'll show merge classes. We're going to show Unbind CMS, a preview, not the live version, but a preview, and a nice light update to the code block, which was not even on the list. So that's how flexible this whole thing is. We kind of make it up as we go along.
Yeah.
Let's go and share the screen and see this working.
Yeah, and for anybody, like watching, this is kind of how it's gonna go. Where we're gonna have a projected schedule, things that we think we're gonna hit, but we thought it was better to just go through and make the features that we do release as clean as we can, rather than launch a bunch of features that are kind of half baked. And so just bear with us as we, work through some of this, and it's still a ton of value here. So I can't wait to show y'all here what Joe's about to drop.
So here we have a red box. It's being created by example class 1. We have a combo class is class 2 with some bottom margin. You can see we have the same thing right here. And we also have it on another one of our pages. So we have this combo class, and really we don't need this combo class. It's not on the contact page, as you can see, but this combo class just is kind of unnecessary, right? We could just have applied this for rem direct to this class. And maybe this is all throughout our build, and we've realized at the end of our build, we just want to consolidate this. We want to take all of these combos and merge it to one class. So that's what we're able to do now. If I open up the extension and go to the functional tab, we have merge combo classes unlocked. And when I go to merge those combo classes, it's going to pre-select this because that's what I had selected in Designer. And now I can go and create a new class. let's do example better class. And I can choose now options. This is something new that we did not even plan on last week on the stream. I can only create the class, which means that it's a brand new class in the build, but it's not applied to any element. I can replace the selected element, which means whatever I have selected in Designer, it's going to replace this instance with this class. Or the super, super powerful replace all elements. This is where it gets really, really good in terms of efficiency in your build. Look at what we can do here. We can actually replace every instance of this combo class throughout our build. And it's going to allow us to select by page. So you saw that we had this class on the About page. We did not have it on the Contact page. That's not why we don't see it here. But I'm actually able to replace this combo class throughout the entire build. And if I go and do this, we'll see that this will be replaced with better class. Let's go and see that work. So when we go and reload Designer, we're going to see those messy combos combined into one. The styles from all of those classes will be merged into one single class. So you see we still have this red box. We have the margin bottom applied to this new class. And you can see that this instance changed as well. I changed all instances in the build. And if I go to the About page, that same thing is happening here, our better class. So I'm seeing a lot of wows.
Yeah.
Awesome in the chat here. And yes, this is awesome. We are very excited for this. We are already using this full speed. So that's available to you. Play around with it. These options are very specific and they're very powerful. You may want certain ones here for certain reasons. And you can see if I don't have something selected, I can actually go and select these classes from the dropdown. So play around with it. A lot of really good UX things that we put into here, and also a really great shortcut. If you find yourself using this a lot, you can use Command Option Enter, or on Windows Control Option Enter. It will show based on your machine, and you can have a shortcut to go create that merge combo. Great. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Joe, getting a real quick question there about that.
Yeah.
Does it delete or overwrite the old classes when you do that?
No, it does not.
Great.
And that is a safety thing. And the reason is we do not want you to accidentally overwrite or delete classes that could be important other places in the build. So if you're using those combos specifically for these instances, once you replace all instances, that would then be available for you in your cleanup styles manager. But if those classes are being used elsewhere in the build, they will be unaffected, which is really, really good to make sure you don't mess up big things in the project. Any other questions before I go on?
Is it removing or deleting the merge class? That's what we just answered. So same question. Yep.
Yeah. Great. Okay, we have a light update to our custom code. Now remember, this is your site settings custom code. We have wrapped lines to prevent horizontal scrolling. I have this big box here, and you can see this is kind of a pain. We don't like to horizontally scroll here. And we have a smaller size box. So what I can do is go and wrap lines to prevent horizontal scrolling. And now these will wrap to the next line, so I don't have to scroll horizontally in my code. This was asked. We saw it as a light feature. We went ahead to go and add that. We do have more custom code upgrades coming. They're not on the list. We didn't discuss them in the first episode, but they're coming. We have a lot of cool things we want to do to these code blocks.
Yeah.
Okay, and
hey,
now the last item. Yeah.
One thing real quick, I wanted to highlight this comment because we were talking a little bit about this before the stream on the merge classes. And the boy Matt 80 is saying, opens up the idea of developing with combos, but combining before handover. And Vincent was actually talking about how this could help speed up his workflow because you don't have to be as careful now with some of those combos. And so you can still respect the combo class, but you can add, extra, like you can add a third or a fourth or even a fifth layer, again, to move really quickly. And then you come back and consolidate those throughout the stream. So that's a really good point there, the boy Matt. This could speed up your workflow by doing exactly just what you just mentioned there.
Absolutely. And also when you do this and you have big wins in your project, let us know. Tell us that this has helped you, because maybe we hear this enough, we get enough feedback here, and we continue helping this workflow. This is super important. And if we can help everybody build faster, we're going to continue making updates to these types of features.
Yeah, and Abdul, the topic
yeah.
is consistent income with Webflow. We're just doing some real quick updates of our browser extension here. So if you're just joining us, each week we do some updates about the browser extension, and then we'll jump right into the show after these updates. So go ahead, Joe.
Yep. And now we will show you Unbind CMS. This is not live yet. We pushed it to next week because there's actually a lot of testing that we still have to do here. But it is working. We'll show you it live in action. Check this out. We have our CMS image. These are all binded with CMS, CMS, and CMS. Excellent. So what we're going to do now is select our list element, and we're going to go into the extension here. And we're going to go to the functional tab, and soon you will be able to unbind CMS. And we have this selected. If I go to save this, it's going to unbind all of those bindings. So now I can quickly copy paste this structure, use it somewhere else, either in static form or connect it to a brand new collection. So see, now we can go and grab this, put it somewhere else. We can unconnect it. We can go and move this somewhere else. This is super, super useful. A really simple example with just a few bindings, but we all know how difficult it is when there's 10 or 15 or 20 bindings that we have to manually go and undo to go copy paste that instance. So this is going to work for collection lists. It will also work for template pages. And we are working on that, expected for next week's release.
Yep, I can hear them. I can hear them all out there. The crowd.
Thank you. Thank you,
crowd
crowd.
goes wild. All right. Let's see. Okay. Finsweet is the guy she tells you not to worry about. Yeah, that's funny. Okay, that's great. All right, so there we go. Those are the extension updates for everyone today. We'll keep you all updated about what's coming next with all of that. Okay, let's get into the actual gist of the show here. We have a disclaimer like we typically do. Joe, do you want to handle the disclaimer?
Sure. Disclaimer of this episode, building consistent income in Webflow, is the path is different for everybody. That someone else's consistency may be different than your consistency. Don't compare yourself to others. Don't try to compare yourself to other industries. This is a very unique industry. You're never, ever going to get to the type of consistency that you would get in a 9-to-5 job where you have that structured salary. And that's okay. We can still work towards more consistency, and we can work towards what's consistent for us as people, but don't compare yourself to others. Don't compare yourself to other industries. It's your own path and your decision for how to stay consistent.
Yep.
So that's the disclaimer. Anything to add to that?
No, we breezed right over the, I just wanted to mention that we did this show and tell event and Gather the other day. It was super cool. If you weren't there was about 20 of us just kind of hanging out. People were sharing like presentations that they were working on, projects that they were building, clonables that they had made. And so we're going to keep doing these. Keep an eye on us. We have this schedule that's kind of forming here. Oh, I don't have that on the page. I guess it would help if I shared the actual screen. So we are working on like a public shared calendar where we're going to start just doing more of these events and sharing these with all of you. So just keep an eye on that as we go forward. That was kind of a fun event, very hands-on. This Thursday, we'll be doing a stream where we're going to do a live build with client first. So we kind of did a tease of that last week, but we felt we didn't really kind of deliver the goods of that starting from scratch and really getting hands-on. Like, how do you approach this if you just want to like come blank canvas starting from beginning? And so we're going to do some of that next week. Joe and I will walk through while one of our devs kind of builds in the background, and we'll ask questions. We'll pass on questions from the crowd. We'll get real interactive with how to build on top of that. So if you're getting value out of these videos, we'd ask you all to subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and like the video itself. And then real quick, before we jump into this deeper, let's go ahead and say what's up to Aditya, Arianto's here, Babas, what's up? Blake, Carlos Ruiz, Christopher Coleman, Jay, Maggie, Nick, Steve Hilario, the boy Matt, Vimalan, Zach. Yeah, what's up, everybody? There's a squad with us today, so we appreciate you all hanging out with us today. Let's get into building consistency. So for me, I wanted to start a little bit about asking a question, right? So maybe in the comments, y'all can help us. What does it mean consistency for you? Right? Are we talking about consistent income? Are you talking about consistent client load? What are you struggling with right now when it comes to consistency? And the general consensus in my mind is like the way you generate consistency in whatever realm you're looking at is to just consistently, sorry, it's like a tongue twister saying that too many times, consistently kind of setting the benchmark for yourself. We've talked about this in previous shows about setting a high benchmark for what you're trying to do for your own personal work, and consistently hitting those goals, whether it's for a client, whether it's for your internal team, whether it's with the community, whatever it is, right? Continuity, like just doing something over and over and over will help you get to consistent outcome. So right off the bat, if you're not like landing clients consistently, if you're, just kind of having a hard time figuring this out, maybe start assessing what it is that you're doing. Is there something that you're inconsistent just from the get-go, like just not doing every single time? Right? Whether it's a workflow, whether it's a way you deliver a project, are you kind of making things up every time you start a task or a project? And so I would just encourage you to start looking for places where you can, as we talk about consistency, look for those processes and systems and things you can replicate and optimize inside of your workflow. Because as you kind of figure out how to like do that and organize and manage yourself, your workflow, that'll trickle into your clients. That will expand into your your revenue stream. And so I think it really starts with the individual. A lot of people just want the clients to start coming in, but maybe they don't have the right habits, right, to enable that. And so I think when we start talking about consistency, that's a good place to start. Any thoughts there, Joe?
Yeah, to further make clear the point that this should be based on what you want, your consistency. That some people I see, they're talking about income, that they want clients. This needs to be what you want consistency of. And your consistency, what your idea of that is, can change. I'll give you a quick preview of how that's changed from when I started Webflow to today. Now I look at consistency in a very different way. First, I wanted consistency of clients. I didn't care what clients those were, just clients. Then I needed consistency of good clients, clients that I could put at the first level of my portfolio, right at the top. I wanted consistency of those clients. Then that was no longer a problem. Now it was consistency of people on the team. How do we consistently grow this team? And now today, I want consistency in content, in product releases, in community tools, in resources. So not even worrying about those other things because I've almost graduated from the feeling of consistency with those. So remember, this can change. Just because you want consistency of something now doesn't mean that that's your consistency answer for next year or the year after. So make sure that you remember it's about you and it's constantly changing.
And let's go through a little bit. We're getting some answers here from the crowd about what consistency is and what they're looking for in this. So let's run through some of these real quick. Christopher Coleman is saying, defining your own success sounds corny, but once you get it, everything just feels better. Agreed. And that could mean having consistently free time each week. It could mean, longer weekends, or you control your work hours, or more travel flexibility, or maybe an upgraded living situation or a new car. I don't know, whatever it is, right? Whatever your goals are that you're striving to kind of like build your income around, for sure. Defining that is a big part of why we're all kind of doing this job. So let's see, consistency in income is what Lucas is looking for. Yep. Abdul is saying thinking to make themes for passive income, consistent rate. Arianto's saying consistent rate and income. Okay. So I don't know if that means like hourly rate, consistent, like maybe you're charging once in a while, you get like 5 grand for a website, and then other times you're selling them for like 1,000 or 2,000. And so you'd like to consistently get that higher rate, or maybe it's 10,000 and you're, like your 5,000 is your lower threshold. So yeah, I could see that, trying to figure out consistently landing good client projects, Nimesh is saying here. So yeah, getting those top clients like Joe was talking about, this is a little different than maybe Nimesh is getting some pretty regular work here, but the tier of that client, he would like to raise that up. So let's see what Grace is saying here. A big thing that's helped my consistency is switching from 50/50 payment structure to 50/25/25 structure. 50 upfront, 25 beta,
Nice.
and 25 at launch. Okay, yeah. And that could help with getting the money, because sometimes that last 50%, you could wait forever for that, right? Like if things drag on for an extra month or two, that could be a longer waiting period before you get that last payment. So breaking it up into, smaller chunks like that, maybe you get a little nugget before, and then you get that last payment, and it's a smaller amount you're waiting for. So Dan Pierce is saying, mine's clients, I get ones that last a few weeks, and I can't find one for a few weeks. Yeah, so kind of how to get clients on a regular. Yeah, okay, so talk a bit about passive income. We will talk about passive income and reoccurring income. That'll be a theme throughout the show. So we will dive deep into that. Okay, so that seems like a good kind of recap of what people want in the audience here. Carly's saying, figuring out consistent processes to manage projects. Want to micromanage less, but still need to deliver the exact quality provide on my own. Yeah, okay, great. So all these are beautiful examples of what we're going to talk about today as it relates to consistency. So let's see, did we get through our consistency notes? Yeah, I think so. Well, one more thing. Backing into your numbers, I want to talk a little bit about like understanding what it means to be consistent, right? And so like you kind of want to back into numbers, like a typical process in some kind of like marketing operation or sales operation, when you need to understand like, hey, we want to increase sales. Okay, well, now you need to understand how many sales opportunities are you getting, and how many of those sales opportunities leads to a sale. And then you have to understand, okay, how many views or how many impressions or what do I have to do to generate enough activity to generate that number of leads, right? And so it's all kind of a numbers game at a certain level. You have the top of your funnel, and that's what we'll be talking about next, I think, is priming that pipeline and making sure you always have activity at the top of that funnel. When you're trying to increase consistency, especially if it's related to income or closing deals at the bottom of the funnel, it's really important that you always have fresh opportunities coming in. Most of the people, when they lack consistency, is because they do this. They go sell. They sell a bunch of clients, and then they go deliver. And then they do all the work. And while they're doing all the work, they stop, sell. And so they go through these cycles, right? While you're selling, you get a bunch of clients, you start delivering. And now no more leads are coming in because you're spending all your time doing the work. And so a lot about building consistency is finding ways to just make sure you're doing all of these processes on an ongoing basis, and that you also know what it takes, right? How many XYZ, how many blog articles you have to post to generate enough traffic, to get enough form submissions, to land a meeting with a client, to send a proposal that then leads to a sale, right? Those are all steps. And at every step, you probably have more people, right? Lots more people are going to watch your video than are going to fill out your form. And lots more people are going to fill out your form than are going to schedule the meeting or get to a point where you can present a pitch to sell somebody something. And even less of those people are actually going to buy from you. And so what you need to do is you need to kind of backtrack through that process to figure out, where is it that I can spend my time and activity to generate the engagement at the top of my funnel so that I can increase those numbers all the way through the chain. And so, any thoughts on that, Joe? Walking through the kind of pipeline priming process, and we'll jump into that next. We'll fully diving into like the pipeline itself.
Yeah, it gave me some flashbacks earlier on in Finsweet, when I was developing and selling and doing just a little bit of everything. I did find myself sometimes lost in work and not answering those sales emails right away, not spending the type of time on that lead that I normally did. I found that when I spent, let's say, an hour or two really nurturing a lead, really giving them the guidance to go and pick Finsweet, that was a closed sale. But when I rushed through it and I said, "Ooh, I got to answer this quick because I have all of this work to do," that's when sales did not come as frequently. That leads would say, hey, I found someone else because someone else was probably more helpful because I wasn't really focused on that. So it's really important to balance that. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I lived through that.
Yeah. And let's see, Lucas is saying here, I think the problem is that once the project's delivered, income from the client is gone. How do we extend the lifetime of a client? We're going to talk a little bit about that as we go. There was another one here that I wanted to, Peter, probably one of the steps towards income client consistency is defining your absolute bottom line for projects. And I agree with this. And this can be tough to do. And we'll talk a little bit later because we're going to talk about building a buffer and having some money saved up. But yeah, your goal should be to kind of make sure you have a threshold of clients that you don't work under. You got to value your time at a certain level. But the problem with that is that when you're starting out, you kind of just need to take the clients. You kind of just need as many clients as you can. And so that becomes a difficult task. And I think we've done like whole episodes just on that topic. So I don't know how much we'll dive into that, but yeah, Peter, I agree. Setting that. And again, that threshold is going to be different for everybody, right? Like just because, one person has a $5,000 minimum and somebody else has a $20,000 minimum or somebody else has a $100,000 minimum, like that's different scales, right? So again, don't compare yourself to others when you hear about some of this stuff. So let's talk about that pipeline, Joe. Is there anything, we do a ton. Content here generates a ton of eyeballs, the educational stuff, the software we release. And you've talked about this a number of times on the show, but like, where did you get this idea? How did you start doing this? Talk to people as they're like, because I know Finsweet's a benchmark right here. And a lot of people aren't going to start out where Finsweet is. So go all the way back to when you started and tell me about your mindset a little bit. What were you thinking about how to generate leads? Because most people start thinking, I'm going to run some ads or I need to, do a promotion or something. What was your mindset? What can people start thinking about as it relates to filling the top of this pipeline?
Something I loved doing that really helped early on was answer everybody. Everybody that is sending me a message about something, everybody that's commenting in the Facebook group, that's on Twitter, answer them. Maybe that's not a project that you're going to take, but that gave me so much experience just speaking with people about this, speaking about leads, about how this type of work works, what type of problems people have. So I was really active communicating in messages, in emails. I really recommend that when you're starting out to engage in these conversations, not just for the best and the best clients. If you don't waste your time, I'm not saying to just talk to people that are not quality clients, but it gets your name out there, right? It even happened early on. I would talk to somebody in the Facebook group, and then I'd get a message from a company that said, hey, I found you from this person. And that was the person I was talking to in the Facebook group 3 weeks ago. So just start communicating.
Yeah.
There's so much conversation happening in this space. Jump into that conversation. It doesn't cost anything but your time. And it is very valuable in learning how to speak about this.
Yeah. And I think the gist of that answer is start finding ways to provide value. You want to build the top of your funnel. You want to prime your pipeline. You want to make sure you always have consistent leads. Find ways to consistently deliver value to others. Again, at first, this may not be your clients because you don't have a lot of clients, right? And so you have to find other people to deliver value to. Now, we've talked about a number of times. Is that clonables? Is that a free website for some big nonprofit, or redesigning some marquee brand to gain attention, releasing some kind of framework or tool, or just, I don't know, even a beautiful design can really give you a leg up in the space. Maybe you want to start creating content to teach people, right? I see new groups popping up all the time. We have people joining our Finsweet events committee, right, to get involved with some of these events and things that we're doing. These are all helping folks increase their standing in the community, generate more attention, and it's priming that pipeline, right? The more you get out in front of folks, the more likely they are to step out and say, hey, who is this person? And it may not be, here's a caveat. Lots of people get into the space and they start selling like in the Facebook group, right? Like, don't go to the Facebook group and say like, hey, I'm a Webflow developer. Does anybody need to hire me? Right? You can pay attention if somebody posts in there and you want to respond to a job ad, but like we're all Webflow devs, right? So what you do is you build community with us, you do cool things, you come to events, you create content, whatever it is, and that increases your clout. And then theoretically, you leverage that clout on your website to show people I'm a Webflow expert, so that when local mom and pop or whatever client comes to you, or the plumber down the street or the franchisee over here comes to you, and they're looking to see what it is that you do, they see all this activity and they're like, oh, this person is credible in the space. Look how active they are over here. Oh, these guys just hosted an event over here. That's cool. They're teaching about Webflow. They must know. So that reinforces their decision as a business owner to potentially hire you, right? And so the reason you do this stuff is not necessarily because you want to find your next client, like Joe was saying, from that interaction. It's because you want to build credibility. It's because you want to like learn how to speak the lingo. You want to elevate your standing in the community so that when people do look, that you're the person that makes logical sense to talk to about taking the next step with their website. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
And it's consistently giving value. Like you said, that's a great way to look at it. That you need to have consistent income, but that can't be the only thing on your mind. If the only thing on your mind is consistent income, you may have a problem with income, because people can sense when you're just focused on money. People want to see that you're focused on value.
Yeah.
So that's where all this is coming from. This is not just about money. It's about value, and value makes money.
I love this. Lucas is saying my first client was a guy that watched a YouTube video I uploaded on YouTube. The video sucks, but it got me in the game.
Love it.
Hey,
love it.
My biggest client before I came to Finsweet found me because, and I think I've told this story before, I just started reading the local news. The local newspaper here put up a paywall, and like people were up in arms because they couldn't read the paper. And so like I got a subscription to the newspaper and literally just started live streaming myself reading the news. So it had nothing to do with web design, but somebody saw that and they came to the website, they saw the stuff that I do, and then that led to the web stuff. And again, it gets you in the door. It's just something to get eyeballs, right? Like this is a much better path than spending your money on advertising at this point, is creating some kind of content or finding something to, again, suck people in at the top of that funnel.
And you don't only have to do this to brand new people. This is not just to get brand new leads. This can also be for your existing leads, for your existing contacts, continuing to provide value even after you've delivered the project. If you did a really good job on a project, that company, that client, that person will probably hire you again for something else. So let's talk a little bit about that, get into that.
Yeah.
Setting up these post-project revenue streams, actually thinking about the income now with value in mind. Once you deliver a website, there's usually like 100 more things you can do to your website. Nobody delivers a website and it's like, all right, I'm done. I don't need to do anything else after this. There's work in SEO. There's work in marketing. There's work in lead generation. There's A/B testing optimization. There's like an amazing amount of add-on services that so many companies can find value in. And you can actually lead that client into that service. Hey, check this out. You should use this A/B testing software. And guess what? If you don't want to do it yourself, I actually offer this service and I can set up a whole bunch of tests for you and give you this report every other week. Super valuable. You're giving them the resources to do something great. And you also have this really nice add-on service that can give you that more consistent income.
Yeah.
So value, we keep coming back to this value point.
That's it. That's all it's about. It's literally just about passing value. There's it's the cardinal rule of all this, right? It's just the more value you generate, the more people are going to want to work with you, because everyone likes to get value on their money. It's like an investment, right? If I know I can invest $10,000 in Finsweet and get a $20,000 value website, which we've talked about was Joe's strategy as he was building the site, that's a tremendous amount of value. That's a $10,000 value. That's a double my investment type of value. If you become this person, people will always want to work with you. You'll never have a shortage of work, right? If they know that it's a good investment, right? Like it's almost impossible to double your money in that short amount of period, right? If you know anything about investment. So if you're a business and you know you can go to someone who's going to give you a better value for your buck, it's always going to make that decision easier to make. Which brings up a point here that I wanted to address by Martin. And Joe, this could be a good one for you. He's asking, what percentage of clients do you reject? How did it change as the agency was growing? And this, again, could be something that varies by person, right? I'm sure the clients we reject now are not the clients we were rejecting at the beginning of the process. So how do you answer that, Joe?
In the very beginning, it was close to 0% rejection. I would say for the first year, any project that I knew that I was able to do, I would take it on. But of course, as you start getting more people through the door, you don't want to overwhelm yourself, because like we said, that takes away from the sales, it takes away from providing more of that value. So as the business grew, there were either 2 reasons, or let's say 3 reasons why someone would be rejected. They had some ridiculous request. Everybody gets these requests that are just unbelievably ridiculous. Maybe they don't have enough money. Some people come with very unreasonable amounts of money for an entire project. And then number 3, if somebody came in rude, somebody came in with a really bad attitude. I don't have percentages, but I can give you now what the percentage is. And I would say we take on maybe 30% of the leads that come through. And usually the leads that do not come through, it's because they have unreasonable requests. They have requests that are just ridiculous and they want to pay this low amount of money for the work. Or actually now because they want a service that we don't provide. So yeah, that's a hard question to answer. It really changes for everybody. How do you feel about it? When a lead comes in, do you feel like you really want this project? Or you're like, I don't know, should I take this? If you have that, I don't know, should I take this? You probably should not take it. You want those projects that you're ready to jump into tomorrow. Well,
and we talked about this a number of times with having walk away power. If you have a prime pipeline, if you have consistent leads generating from whatever your marketing activities are, then you can kind of walk away from deals and you can start to become a little more selective. So going back to your question, Martin, the more leads you have, the more options you can have as to which projects you take, you can start getting a little bit more selective. And this is something that usually starts happening in your second, third year of this business as you have referrals. You've got a nice portfolio of work behind you. You've got, kind of maybe a little bit of recognition in the community, or people are starting to know about you. Maybe your website's real nice, and so it depends. That's a long way of saying it depends. Yeah, your threshold
really
could be real tight. If you have 100 leads a day, well, maybe you pick 1 or 2 a month or a couple. I don't know, right? But if you only get 1 or 2 leads, well, you're probably not going to be real selective. You're probably just going to take whoever's going to write the check. So that's something to think about there. And I did want to address Sarah brought a real good question up here. How do you manage when you have full pipeline? How do you manage when I'm having trouble with clients booking months in advance, having them not drop off once I'm actually ready and freed and ready to work with them. Okay, so I think you're actually saying, maybe I read that off, having them not drop off once I'm actually freed up. Okay, so maybe they're no longer available. And Grace answered with a good question here to follow up, asking about, are you taking deposits? And I would like to know that, because I think if you're gonna let somebody book with you, you should for sure just take a deposit, take some, and maybe it's not the full 50%, but get some money out of hand and make that like a non-refundable deposit. Because if people are booking out your time and then you're not booking that for other people, then there should be some repercussions there. So I don't know if that's the best way. Joe, do you have any other thoughts for how to handle that?
Yeah, definitely. If you're booking months in advance, you need to be getting that money to hold that time. But really, before you do that, it sounds like you should either be raising your prices or you should be growing a team. You should not be booking out months in advance. Maybe 1 month in advance, maybe 2 months in advance. But if you have months in advance of work, that means you have a very high demand. So that means you can share your skill with other people and grow the team, or double your price. Some people will drop off. Maybe 50% or 80% of your clients will drop off, but you don't need all of those clients. You don't need to be booked months in advance.
Yeah.
So really think about the strategy there.
Yeah, 100%. There was another question here that I wanted to answer. There's this one and there's one more. Lucas is asking, when do you know it's time to focus more on sales and start to build a development team? We have a full episode. Our first episode on this show was exactly about that. It's like how to hire and plan for growth. It's basically when you are where Sarah is, where you have a backlog of work, you have maybe not enough time to handle the work, and so you got to start delegating, or maybe there's tasks that you don't necessarily want to be doing yourself, or that somebody else could be doing more efficiently, and so that's when you can start delegating and pulling other people into the team. Any other thoughts there, Joe?
I'll add to that. There is always one thing that happens that makes me think we need to add more people to the team. And it's when you have to turn down a project that you really want to take. It's a terrible feeling. And it makes me say, we need more people on this team, or we need somebody in sales. You have just too much work. This awesome lead comes in. You want this project so badly, but you can't take it because you're too busy or your team's too busy. And that's a killer. So that's the thing that happens that can really make that change happen.
Nice. Real quick, Brett Trippin here saying, will you guys ever create a sales course or have any recommendations? Joe has like a whole thing written up, and I have like a book on sales that we've both shared with each other, and we're both salespeople. Like before we were Webflow people and before we were web people, like we have. So yeah, I don't know when or how, but yes, it's part of the agency incubator thing. We might do some of that. We might just start a dedicated sales only thing. But I don't know. We like to blend it in with the show here. So just keep watching the show. We'll keep doing stuff like this. And then there was one more. Oh, yeah, Sarah, let us know. Carly said, double your price and grow your team. So yeah, do both. No need to just do one, for sure.
Yeah, and growing the team doesn't have to be adding 6 people. It could be adding one person. Find one person that's terrible at sales. Find one person that doesn't want to worry about invoices. Find one person that just wants a friend to work with. They're out there. Our agency incubator concept is around making these connections, but there is someone out there for you, Sarah, that would be a perfect fit, one person to help take off some of that load for you. Okay. There you go. She's ready.
Yeah. Fincubator. Okay. Off topic. Joe, you need a beard, says Randall Johnson. So he thinks he'd look good with a beard. And then Peter, what is he saying? Yes, happened to me recently. One of the biggest magazines in Dubai, and I just wanted super badly to work with them, but I needed to say no. I needed to start thinking about more people, definitely. Yeah. And this is something you're going to start seeing more and more. If you're here, you are on the edge of this Webflow wave that's coming, right? Like we are on the early days of what's coming with this, no code / visual web development / visual software development space. And so, yeah, I would encourage you all to start thinking about how can you grow? It's the name of the show, Effing Growth, right? The reason we share a lot of this, Sebastian just said this a second ago here. Where's that comment from Sebastian? That, you're great sharing your knowledge in such an accessible, possible energy. This is it. This is about helping other people grow. Joe and I have been fortunate enough to have some success in this business. Joe's growing a great agency, building the thing, and we cross paths, and lots of good stuff's coming. We want to share that with you all, right? Like it's part of my passion. It's part of Joe's passion as much as possible to just share this information with all of you. So again, if you're getting some value here, there's 85 of you hanging out right now. There's only 36 likes on the video. So come on, let's get some likes on that video and let's get into the next topic, which is standing out, which is kind of the same thing we've been talking about. All right, it's about how to make a name for yourself. This is it. You want to prime the pipeline? Find a way to make a name for yourself. I don't know if that's interacting in the comments on a video somewhere to connect. Join a little micro community. Host your own meetup. You cannot do more for yourself than the meetups. I'm telling you, the value return on your time from hosting a small group and creating your own little community like that is super powerful. And again, we're building a network of folks that are doing just that. We're helping support with resources. We're helping them market their events. And so again, standing out, Joe, what's the approach here? What should they be looking at? Let's take them from day one. What should they be looking at to kind of stand out in this community, in this industry?
In the industry, I was going to give an answer for how to stand out in the sales process.
Sure.
Let me go through that and then I'll get into community. Stand out in the sales process. When I'm selling, I usually give the lead the answers that they're looking for. You see so many people withholding that information, say, when we start to work together, I'll show you this. When we start to work together, I'll show you this. If you want to stand out ahead of all the other people that are pitching, give real information, give a walkthrough of that client's site, give a preview of the type of delivery video that they're going to get with their delivery. Give a preview of what service you can provide afterwards, like the A/B optimization. Look what I can do here. Look what we're going to do for SEO. Giving this type of really valuable information is going to make you stand out between everybody else they're talking to. And that's part of sales. That's part of building this consistent income, giving the value to make you the clear option out of the 5 or 6 other people they're talking to. That's very, very important. I think about this all the time, every time we have a new lead come in.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to clarify. I think that's 100%. 100%, Joe. I think you're dead on with that. I did want to clarify. Abdul was asking here, is there any Fincubator? Not yet. This is something that we're working on as part of this Webflow Community Alliance. We've talked about it a few times in the past. We're still in the process of connecting with Webflow on making this big pitch. And so that will come after we figure all of that stuff out. So, and Carl, listen, no, Nimesh, do we need to have an agency registered for the Fincubator? Again, it's not available at this time. So once that stuff is available, this is the first place you'll hear about it. So if you're interested in learning more about that, subscribe to these live streams to the Finsweet channel, and this will be ground one for all of that, ground zero for all of that stuff. So, Joe, did you have anything else on that standing out side of things? You talked a little bit about standing out in the sales process. Did you want to mention about like standing out either in the community or just in the industry as a whole?
In the community? Yeah, sure. Back to what we said in the beginning, commenting on things, talking to people. This does make you stand out. It's amazing how many people we know just from commenting in our stream, just from being in our channels and interacting with our social posts. And we've actually sent connections to people. Just because you comment doesn't mean we're going to send you leads or send you connections, but we have done that just naturally. Oh, you're a designer looking for a developer? I just heard the opposite story yesterday. Meet this person. Or, oh, you're a great illustrator? We met illustrator Luca on one of our shows, and we ended up contracting him for something. And now we're going to remake his website. This is like huge value here. And just because you communicate and you get in this community and you start commenting, people will notice you and naturally talk about you.
I want to emphasize this point here, Joe. I'm gonna go to my screen share real quick here for a second. I think, okay. And I want to show like 100% example of this. February 11th, 2020, I published this no-code video site. And I want, like, this was one of the first times I actually connected with Joe, right? So literally 2 years ago right here, wow. NoCode.video was just a YouTube clone that I wanted to build. I'll share the link to this here in the chat, but literally this was one of the first times Joe and I interacted. Actually, this was right after No Code Comp. So we had met just briefly, but that came from a Twitter conversation, you know, from some little like comment, or maybe in the forums. I don't know. There was one other little like conversation, but just like this, it was just a random little comment, a random little, hey, what's up? And it's not going to be immediate. Right? It's not going to be like this person's going to answer your comment or you're going to jump in the comment and then all of a sudden you're going to be business partners. No. Right? Like it was months of Joe and I talking back and forth. We were in Slack. Next thing you know, like we're sharing about what we're doing and talking about what we wanted to do. And that relationship then became an invite to come join the Finsweet team. Okay. And so like, don't just think that you do this once. Right? It's about consistency. Remember what we said at the beginning of this. If you want consistent outcomes, you have to create consistent inputs, right? And so it's about consistently getting engaged. It's about consistently doing things. Even if you get like not crazy views, right? I could see if I was going to hire somebody and I went to their YouTube channels and one person had 3 videos that were spaced out years apart and they each had like 50,000 views on them, versus I went to somebody's page and they were publishing a video a day and those videos only had like 1,000 views or 100 views or whatever it is. I'm going with the consistent everyday person, right? Every single time, because maybe they didn't have the viral output, but showing up every day, we can work on more exposure. We can work on virality. We can work on increasing view counts. We can do all that, right? But what you need is to show up every single day, right? Because I see you the first day, you make a little comment. Oh, hey, that's cool. I see you a couple weeks later. Oh, hey, that's so-and-so. We chatted last time. Now I'm a little more friendly. I'm a little more receptive. Maybe now you engage me, right? Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all of these things are tools that connect with folks. LinkedIn, like nobody in here is famous. Like very few people, even Vlad, like the first time I ever talked to Vlad was because I sent him a DM on Twitter, right? And that started a whole different conversation. I replied to one of his tweets and he sent me a DM, right? And so like there are ways to get on people's radar all over the world, right? So when it comes to standing out, don't just think it's like one thing or that you're just going to have like this magic toolkit that's going to open the door to everything. Try lots of stuff, experiment, right? Now, don't spam people. Don't just do volume for volume's sake. We said consistency, not, like just repetitive volume. So again, make sure there's always that buffer that you're delivering value. So it's consistently delivering value. Those are the keys. Did I miss anything there, Joe? Did I spark anything?
No, nailed it. Yeah. You can see we keep using this word consistency, and the word income is not always after that word consistency. To build the consistent income, there has to be consistency in all of these other areas. So really be mindful of that. It's not instant. It may take you a year of commenting and interacting to actually start feeling that action.
Yeah. Yeah, and Grace here is saying, honestly, I didn't know what I was missing on Twitter with the no-code Webflow community. It's amazing. I'm not playing. If you're not on Twitter and you're in this space, you're missing out. Again, on the ground floor. Yeah. Facebook group is fun. Cool. Okay. But the Twitter no-code space is
it's true.
Amazing. We love the Facebook group. I don't mean to diminish the Facebook group. That's kind of like a cool little chamber of people sharing stuff. But it's not as good as Twitter. So go and say, go introduce yourself. Go say, hey, at Finsweet, I'm introducing myself to hashtag no code Twitter. What's up? Tag us both, tag Finsweet and no code, and we'll give you a nice welcome to Twitter. So try it out. Do yourself a favor and go check out Twitter. But again, it takes time, right? It's not always going to be just the magic bullet right up front. So that brings us to building a buffer, right? When things aren't going well, what do you do, right? And so we talked about consistent output and consistent work and how to generate that. But sometimes you can't, right? Sometimes you have a drop off or things happen and maybe you didn't land a client next month or whatever it is, right? This Rymar, Joe, did I spark anything? Nope. Okay. So it's hard to have consistent behavior if you are on your end, if let's say you do go a month without a client, right? Because now you get frantic and you start questioning yourself and you go back to I got to take whatever project comes my way. Maybe you set a threshold that I'm no longer going to take a website less than $3,500 or $5,000 or $10,000, whatever it is. And then you don't land another client at that level and you got to go back to taking the $3,000 website because, you need the money. And so in order to enable yourself to be consistent, you need to have a little buffer. You want to have a month or 2, 3, 6, if you can, in the tank, right? So that if you have a bad month, you don't have to scramble mode to go find some, low level client just to pay your bills, right? And so before you start, upgrading your apartment and getting a new car or buying all the little toys, make sure you set yourself a little nest egg, build that little buffer so that you can create consistency in your income, right? So that you can fill the gap when the clients don't come and still allow yourself to push forward with all the things we've talked about here. Joe, any thoughts on that? I know you're pretty diligent about that exact same strategy.
Another flashback. Man, I remember that first year of Finsweet, I made less than a high school student working at a yogurt shop. It was terrible. And I remember I would not go out with my friends if they were going into New York City. Like it was just my policy. Like if you're going into the city, I couldn't do it. I felt like I needed to really focus on getting that rainy day fund, getting that buffer period, because I couldn't go and afford to spend $100 or sometimes even a few $100s in New York City. It was ridiculous at that time. So you do need that you really need to control yourself when you're starting this business if you're really serious about it. And once you do that, once you start to build that consistency, that's when you can start spending more freely.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit of money advice here, really important no matter what business you're starting.
And yeah, I mean, this reminds me, not even that long ago, like a couple years ago, I was with some friends just at a restaurant, and I'm literally like not ordering shit, not drinking anything, because I know I got like $30 in the bank or something. Like literally, it's some stupid small amount while this next check comes in or whatever it is. And the group decides that it's because it's somebody's birthday, we're gonna just put the whole tab together. And I'm like, no. And they charged my card because when I went to pay, I thought I was going to pay my tab, but they were like, no, we're going to split everyone's bill. And like that really just, yeah, it was a hard moment because I think I overdrafted my account that day because of that. And so I know the struggle, right? Like I understand how hard this can be sometimes. But just know that it does get better, right? Like, and if you build consistent habits and if you find ways to build value, connect with us. Like we are here literally bending over backwards. I am full-time all day, every day, talking to people in the community, figuring out how to bring them into the stuff that we're doing here at Finsweet. So if you want to get involved, it's for no excuse of opportunity, right? Just find ways to plug in to something here. And I promise you the grass is greener on the other side of those consistent behaviors and consistently changing some of those habits to land new clients here. So, which is probably a good segue into generating repeat business. Because as Joe was mentioning before, clients have already spent money with you, right? They've already transacted financially with you. They're highly likely to do it again. And so Joe, we've started adding some services here. Talk a little bit about, what are the best ways to generate repeat business? Obviously just asking for the referral, doing a good job and asking clients, hey, do you know anybody else that I could do this good job for them as well? But what do you say to that, Joe? How do you approach generating kind of repeat business, ongoing business, maintenance contracts, whatever it is, like that mailbox money that just comes in consistently. Now you can kind of bank on that monthly reoccurring revenue or whatever people talk about.
Sure. The first thing before you think about how to get that recurring business is to focus on that first project and make sure you deliver excellently. So good. Wonderful. You can't just deliver well and say, great, thanks, the client's happy, see you later. You need to blow them away. You should set that expectation for yourself, because if you're going to ask somebody for more money, you want them to be very interested in giving you that money. You can be offering the add-on services like we talked about earlier. There's a lot of very powerful technical SEO setups that can be done post-website. You can do A/B testing, and this can be an ongoing, recurring revenue stream for that client. You can do more lead generation. You can set them up with CRMs to help, instead of just sending through that Webflow form, set them up with something like a HubSpot. That's a service. These are things you can go back to your client, and they will continue giving you money if you keep making them really, really happy. So don't just think you deliver the website and you walk away. You can deliver the website and make even more money than the original website project. We have a number of clients that we've been working with for years. And over the few years of small tweaks, side projects, this add-on project, we've actually made significantly more money than that first initial project. So yeah, start with doing really wonderful work and then just keep asking to do more work for them.
Yeah.
It's a great strategy.
Yeah. And you don't know what you can get by just asking. I think we undervalue,
Yes.
like we get scared to ask, right? Again,
Yeah.
it can be intimidating to ask people for something, especially when it comes to money. If you're not like super confident, if this is new to you, if you're a creator by default, maybe you're a little more empathetic and less, you're more agreeable. And so you're less likely to take a firm negotiating position, or maybe it actually pains you to ask for things. But I think in this space, you have to get over that. You have to really, find a way to just ask for the sale first of all, right? Like, what's it going to take to earn your business, right? Like, how can we do business? What do we have to do business, right? If you want to, like, sometimes just take that position, like sometimes you have to be the first person to stand out. And then if somebody did buy from you, and if they're happy from you, if you did the work up until this point, asking them for at least a testimonial. I saw that in the comments here. Somebody was saying about the testimonials. But yeah, getting at least a testimonial. And if you get a testimonial, ask them for a list of a couple other people that might need a new website, or that they think might benefit from your services, or whatever it is, right? Whatever your wording is for that, find them to become your sales agent, right? Find other people to hype you up, because that's the easiest sale, right? That's the easiest sale is when somebody else is saying, this person, I'm vouching for this person, like that's the best way to just get a yes. Okay, let's see. Anything else in the repeat business space? Asking for referrals, packages, follow-on sales, upsells. We kind of talked about all that. Okay, yeah. So that's that. Consistent income.
And
sorry,
yeah.
go ahead, Joe.
One more thing. We actually just started doing this at Finsweet. Maintenance work. We actually started to turn down this work earlier in the business because we were more concerned with getting new projects, getting new portfolio items. But that's not a top concern for some people. Some people don't need a 100 site portfolio. So maintenance, this is not something to try to trick your clients into paying you monthly to do no work. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about every month, come up with a list of things that you think can be improved in the website. And let's talk about how we can do those. How can we improve the contact form process? How can we improve your landing pages? How do we create a landing page system that you can use in Facebook ads? Encourage your client to think about ways that they can improve the site long term. And you can be that person guiding them through the things that they can ask for. And that's what we're doing now at Finsweet. We're now finding people coming to us saying, I want my website built and I want to sign on with you for 6 months for maintenance. And that could be as small as adding a new blog post. That could be redesigning a new page. That could be adding a new product page. That could be some crazy SEO setup that they thought of 2 months after delivery. You can talk about this with clients. And please, when you talk about maintenance, don't talk about pay me this fixed amount per month and you get these set amount of hours. And if you don't use them, they don't roll over. And that's not really the best way to approach this. I think it's really, really honest and effective to go to somebody and say, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
When you need me, send me a message. I'll give you a quote on that work. And if you want to move forward, you can move forward. This can actually make you more money than those single big projects when you have multiple people asking for these little things at a time.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of post-project stuff that you can really focus on here.
Well, and I want to follow on to that by by saying that everybody right now is trying to get online and optimize their web and build more eyeballs, not just us, right? You all are out here trying to figure out how to like grow your web agency or your freelance operation or whatever it is. But other people in other industries are trying to do the same thing, right? They're trying to build a more beautiful experience. They're trying to increase eyeballs. They're trying to like generate content and leads and form submissions on their end. And so if you can find a way to become an outsourced part of this team, especially if it's already a productive company, they probably don't want to hire someone or don't have somebody available internally to manage and do this stuff. That's why they've hired you to build the website. And so if you can find a way to continue to work with them, right? Like Joe's saying, hey, let's come up with a strategy for how we're going to build your next campaign of X, right? You need these landing pages? Cool. Let's build a programmatic landing page system that's powered by CMS that your marketing team can use. That could be a long standing like project for somebody, or at least a build on after your proposal. And so there's all sorts of ways to just connect with the clients you've already sold to. Again, remembering that like business, they've already transacted. Getting that first dollar is the hardest part. Once you've got money from a client, like find a way to get more money or build more value or do something else that allows you to create a second, a third, or fourth follow-on transaction. That's when you'll really start seeing the heavy consistency. You'll start being able to project out because that income is a lot more predictable than new business every single time. So Q&A mode.
Nailed it.
And yeah, we'll just we'll take it from there. Q&A. Joe, do you know here? Actually, you know what? Before we do that real quick, I wanted to highlight this just for 1 second here, because we have, I shared that in the comments and I'm going to pin it to the top, but there's this finsweet.com/strategy website that basically goes through this process. And there's a ton here that just goes through and it's funny, and there's sound effects, and there's 1, 2, and 3 sections to this story here. 4 chapters to this story here that you can go through to kind of get a real deep dive. This is more specifically on the agency side. So if you want to take the next step on your agency, this is just another good resource talking about growing and the strategy about taking that next level as an agency. This is a good read. I went through this myself a while back, and just lots of good content and value there that I wanted to make sure people knew as a resource is available for them. Okay, let's go back, and I see we're getting some nice Q&A here. Peter, do you want to read that one, Joe?
Sure. How will you respond to a client still wanting to have an hourly rate and basically buy a chunk of time for retainer support work and not getting a fixed quote? We are now handling all of our maintenance work hourly, and we are not fixed quoting post-project work. It's come, use what you want, and we will build what you want, and whatever the hour is what the hour is. I don't know exactly what this is asking, but I think you should make it clear what your policy is. Is your policy hour by hour, and whatever the hour is what the hour is? Or do you give a fixed quote and put a little bit of a margin padding on that so that it accounts for maybe some overages that are not expected?
Yeah.
There's no right answer to this.
Yeah. Right. And I think the biggest thing here is just finding out what works for you.
Yeah.
Selling time in blocks is great if you have some kind of structure to how that's going to work, and you know that they're consistently going to use those hours. Where you start getting into trouble is like if people are buying blocks and there's not like a specific path for the work you're going to do. After a few months of that, the client could be like, hey, what am I actually paying for? But I think this comes down to how you want to structure your business, whether you want to sell those blocks of hours or not, right? Because maybe you don't want to have your time committed, right? Because if you have, let's say, a bunch of clients with all these arbitrary hours, what happens if they all come to you in 1 week? Or let's say you're getting close to some holiday promotion, and all of a sudden you have 10 different clients who come to you and they need XYZ number of stuff done, and they all have the same kind of expectation of timeliness or delivery on that time. So I don't know, that stuff's tough. I think it really relates to how you want to grow and build the business itself. Let's see, Christopher Coleman.
We have something from here. Christopher Coleman. Yeah. I'm not even sure yet if freelancing is right for me. Is it possible as a freelancer to focus on design instead of sales? Or should I be looking to work for an agency? Well, my first thought is to try to work for an agency. That when you are a freelancer in this industry, if you're solo, sales is part of it, whether you like it or not. You could be the best designer in the world, you still have to sell. So yeah, if you don't like sales, if you're not interested in it, you don't want to build that skill, that's okay. There's a lot of agencies that are looking for somebody like you that doesn't want to do that and they want to do just the work.
Here's yeah, I agree with that 100%. And actually, if you ask me, I'll take that even one step further and say that I think everything in life is a sale. Every interaction with another human being is a sale of one of four things: time, product, service. What was the other one? Time, product, person, or idea. Time, service, product, or idea. Right. So right now, y'all are paying us with your time for our ideas. And if you're still hanging with us, then you think those ideas are worth your time. If you've left the stream, then those ideas are not worth your time and you're no longer paying us for this transaction, right? If it's a client, you might be selling a product. You might be selling a service, right? But one of those things is happening every single time you transact with another person. Either it's a time for time exchange, it's an idea for idea exchange, it's a time for or money for product or service exchange. But the better you get at interacting with people and understanding people and just, again, communicating, like the better you'll get at selling in whatever aspect it is, right? And so anyway, just a thought. Vimalan's asking any sales courses or resources. Not specifically, but we have talked about that. Maria Carava's saying I suck at sales. So yeah, maybe we do need to do a deep dive series on sales here. Let's go back to Peter for a second.
You know,
go ahead.
Anybody who's interested in learning sales, watch back our previous episodes.
Yeah.
F and Growth, our first, probably like 80% of all of our episodes are deep dives into sales for the Webflow industry.
Yes.
So that's a good place to start. There's a lot more to talk about. We can still do a course.
Yeah.
But this is a great starting point.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point, Joe, is that a lot of our content does have a lot of this sales thought because Joe and I both have a background in sales. And so we kind of weave that all the way through our content there. So Peter, going back to your comment about selling time, hard to explain to clients that faster work costs more. They think that being faster equals less time, less money. So I see. So you want to charge a fixed rate for a specific thing, and they want to pay you on an hourly basis for that thing, on a time and materials basis. And maybe you do it in 2 hours. That's a different thing. You have to approach them and let them know that, hey, we don't do that kind of work on a per hour thing. Typically, hourly for me is about maintenance and updates. If you're talking about building something from scratch or doing a specific thing, I'm usually project based on that. For exactly the reason you said. It may only take me 3 or 4 hours, but if my hourly rate's $150 an hour, that doesn't mean that this is a $1,000 project. You know, it's like, no, this could be an $8,000 project, even if it only takes me 4 or 5 hours. So in that instance, I would kind of push you to get them on. I don't know what the best way. That's probably a whole episode to kind of break down that value-based sales process in that regard. So any other thoughts on that, Joe?
And Peter, also consider raising your hourly and making this clear. So one strategy is what Reimar just said. Go fixed, say that's how you work. That's just what it is. Or go hourly with a much higher rate and say, I work fast, I'm efficient, I'm going to make your website efficient, I'm going to make our process efficient. Everyone's going to save more time. And because of that, this is my hourly.
Yeah. Good
clients will accept that and love it. Bad clients that are trying to save every single inch of cost, that's not a good move for them. So yeah, there's different strategies there.
Lucas is saying here, passive income. I don't know if you're asking us to talk about that or whether you're just screaming that in excitement about passive income. But yeah, passive income's great. This is where like having a small product, template sales, right, could generate passive income. There's all sorts of things. You could have a little product on your website. You could create a little course for yourself. There's all sorts of other things you could do in this freelancer space, / agency space, courses, stuff like that, that could be valuable for reoccurring income like that. And I saw somebody ask before about what was it, the G tag or the JavaScript course, which we don't have any timeline on. We haven't announced anything on that. So any other questions you're seeing in here, Joe, that we want to address?
Where do you see Webflow in the next 5 years? We'll give a quick answer on that.
Sure.
Even more of a leader. This industry will continue growing. This is not going anywhere. So I see Webflow 2x, at least 2x what it is now. We are seeing rapid growth. I saw actually a comment way earlier in the stream asking if there are big companies adopting Webflow, and the answer is absolutely yes. We are seeing a massive adoption of Webflow with public companies. And now we're finding maybe like 10% of the leads that come in are public companies. And that's pretty amazing that we have publicly traded companies using Webflow as a product. And looking 5 years in the past, that wasn't really a thing. I would say maybe no public companies had their live site on Webflow. Now it's a thing. In 5 years, it's going to be the norm.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think Joe says double. I think that's conservative. I think this thing's going to...
It is.
It could be exponential, whereas it just starts compounding, and I think there's a lot of WordPress market share to be taken up. I think as this platform evolves and grows, it's going to be significant. I really do think we are at the beginning of a huge wave that's coming in the world of visual web development, visual software creation. So let's see, there was something else. I think if there would be a show for value-based pricing soon. Okay, Jerry, if you go to the growth.finsweet.com website, you can submit a show topic. So now that we're back on doing this thing now, let's go back here. Where is that? Yeah, if you come to the website here, finsweet.com/growth, you can see that we're live right now and that we've got how to build consistent income with Webflow right here. And we've got all these topics that people have submitted. You can come and suggest your own topic here. So if you'd like for us to do a deep dive on value-based sales, that'd be great to do. We're actually probably going to clean this up because I don't know that we're going to talk about Webflow in China. But as you can see, there's a tons of episodes here that we've done in the past. The green ones are highlighted. Those are special events. So those are some interesting, bigger episodes, something that we did that we're calling attention to. But yeah, come vote for your favorite topic or for your next topic that you'd like to see us discuss. Feel free to suggest a topic for an upcoming show, and we'd love to cover that. We're here to provide value back to all of you. So yeah, we love just answering your questions and creating this content around stuff that y'all want to actually learn. So let's see.
We have
what else?
A question from Matthew Gavioli.
Okay.
What's your suggested standard hourly rate for Webflow Dev? This is a tough one to answer, and I don't think we're going to give actual numbers for this. This has to be based on how you value your time. This is not something that there's a standard rate for. We've seen rates that are very low relative to what we see. We've seen rates that are astronomically high relative to what we've seen. So it's about you. What do you value your time at? How do you see, if you work 6 hours for a client's project, how much do you want to be paid for that? That's what you need to look at for that, for that answer.
And that's the answer of backing into your numbers, right? You got to set your hourly rate based on what your expenses are, based on what your output is going to be, based on what your availability is, and sometimes based on your market and clients. If you're just starting out, you're not going to get $300-$500 an hour. But if you're a top level designer, maybe you can get that, right? Like maybe somebody could get $1,000 an hour. I don't know. That goes back to what Peter was asking before. Hey, if it's fixed price or hourly, I'm okay with hourly sometimes, but I'm going to raise my hourly rate, and I'm going to make sure I get the same equivalent. No big deal. We can solve this problem, right? But the client needs to know that. And these can't be sneak attacks, right? You have to be kind of upfront with folks. And this all depends on you, your standing, your ability to deliver, your experience, all of that stuff. And so this is a really hard question to just kind of answer a carte blanche there. Michael's saying a good thing. That's kind of a follow-up there. I hate selling as well. However, what helps me is to speak about what I'm passionate about. In this case, how digital fits into their overall business and not trying to sell a pen. Correct 100%. We talked about this last episode, I think, that like, you're not selling, like the Mario analogy, right? You're not selling Mario a fireball plant. You're selling the client the ability to throw fireballs and be like big, And so like, we're all passionate about this. We're all passionate about Webflow. We're all passionate about visual development in the world. And so like the things that you can do, get in the client's head. The client has dreams of growth. The client wants a beautiful website. They want all of these things, right? So it's not hard to sell somebody an exciting vision about their future web presence. This is not a hard sale. So I agree with, what Michael's saying here is that, it doesn't have to be a spammy or a scammy kind of sale. I think really just go ahead.
The first question I would ask about selling a pen, I see that you've put that as an example of this very salesy, aggressive type of push. If someone said, "How do you sell a pen?" The first question I would ask is, "Well, what do you want a pen for? Like, what's your use for the pen? Before I can sell you on the pen, I need to know why you want this pen. And if you say you don't want the pen, I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to try to sell it to you. I'm only going to sell you something that you want, that is going to give value to you. You need to tell me how to sell you." So this is value-based. There's nothing that has to be pushy about sales. That's old school. That's from the 50s.
I keep seeing this like scene from, is it Wall Street or something in my head where the guy's like, "Sell me a pen." And then he takes the pen and he like says, "Sign here." And they can't sign. It's like, "See, you need a pen." It's like this, like just scammy, super like Wall Streety, like approach to pitching. Go. So yeah, that's what I saw when Michael was saying need a pen. Charles is saying here, do you think that selling a template in Webflow is going to work? I don't think selling a template in Webflow is going to work, but I think that if you dedicated yourself to being a Webflow template designer and you got passionate about that and excited about that you could make an income. I think lots of people are making great passive income from the template marketplace. So I think that really depends on you. I don't think expecting Webflow to sell your templates is it. I think if you're going to be effective in selling templates, there's, who is it? The Flow Ninjas, Urosh, who watches our shows fairly regularly. They do a ton of business selling templates, but they also spend a lot of time promoting those templates and teaching people how to use those templates and doing other things in the community that, again, bring people into the top of their funnel for that kind of stuff. And so don't just think that if you create a template, you're going to make a bunch of money, right? You still have to kind of go through all the steps of delivering value and showing people that value, right? The web is big. Don't just think you're going to do something, people are going to see it. I made a tweet yesterday that said, building the audience is harder than building the software. 100% true, right? We're all in the space where now any Joe Schmo can come and pick up a tool, Glide, Airtable, Bubble, Webflow, whatever you want. You're spitting out some kind of like MVP, a little piece of software. Cool. Who's going to use it? What's the value there? Template's the same way, right? The value is not the template. The value is in the client using the template to save themselves time and money building the website. So you have to find a way to reach that specific audience with those templates if you think you want to make money in that regard. Let's see. Oh, in upcoming days, you have any plans? Like, all right, I'm not sure what that question is. Zach, my interviewer at Best Buy, I was asked to sell him a pen. Yeah, 16-year-old me was rattled. I've been in an interview like that. It was like some life insurance thing, and the person asked me to sell some arbitrary product on the spot. And I'm like, what kind of question is this? So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I think that's it. Any other thoughts, Joe, here before we wind down? We're well over time, but folks still hanging with us. What's up? 80 folks. Yeah, make sure you hit that like button on the way out. But I think that's it, Joe. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, great episode. Glad to be back. And next week, please continue to submit your ideas on the growth website, finsweet.com/growth. If you want us to talk about something, submit it. When people vote it up, we're going to talk about it. So yeah, we're excited to be talking about what you want us to talk about. And it looks like next week, we're close on case study of a 10K project.
Maybe caveat. Let's caveat that a second. We forgot. We have a disclaimer to tomorrow or to next week's show ahead of time. I will be traveling next week, and we're not 100% certain that I'll have internet. We will try. Worst case scenario, we're going to try to stream a Zoom call or something, like if I can't get to a place where I have solid internet. But yeah, my crazy travel adventures start next week. And that may impact the streams, at least on Tuesday. We're hoping not to, but in case we're not around next week, you know what happened. We'll keep you all posted. Be sure to subscribe. That's the other thing to worry about on this website. If you're not getting updates about these emails or other things that we're doing in the community, come on over here and drop your email into the box there. Click subscribe. Even if you're subscribed on YouTube, we'd appreciate you jumping on the email list, because that way we'll keep you up to date on other things that happen, like the product releases and other events that we're doing, things that we have planned. And so that's where we'll keep up all of this. Obviously, the stream is ground zero. Like we mentioned before, this is where it's all going down. So if we have news, updates, whatever, it'll always be either on our Tuesday and Thursday stream. And again, a reminder, this Thursday, we're going to be doing a live client first build. So hands-on, our shit is going to be on the call. He was hanging with us last week too. He's going to be building. We don't know what site we're going to build yet. Actually, yeah, maybe leave some suggestions in the comments there, what you'd like to see us build. Shoot us a message on Twitter. But we're going to build something cool live in person on Thursday. So join us then for another episode of Finsweet Live. And that's it. We'll sign out on that. Catch you next time.